My sister-in-law has developed feelings for my husband, and it's becoming a serious issue. I've got this problem with my sister-in-law, Tina, and it's eating at me. She's got feelings for my wife's brother, my husband, and it's turning into a real mess. I'm starting to think I ought to tell her she's not welcome at our baby shower coming up. Now, I'm wondering if that makes me a bad guy. Tina's 30 years old, and I'm 32, married to my husband who's 33. We've been together for 9 years, ever since we crossed paths at this ski lodge up in the mountains. I was there with my little girl from before, tagging along with a buddy of mine and her kid. My husband rolled in with his crew, 2 brothers, 3 sisters, including Tina, and a handful of their pals. They had this singing contest going on, and our friends pushed us into it. We ended up doing a duet together, and man, you could feel the electricity between us. That's how it all kicked off. Looking back to that first day, I noticed something off about Tina right away. After we finished belting out our song, me and my husband wandered over to the lodge's little coffee spot to talk. Out of nowhere, Tina, she's his middle sister, adopted when she was a baby, comes barreling over, all fired up. She tells him he's got to ditch me and head back to their group. She wouldn't even glance my way, just kept nagging at him. He told her to back off, and she didn't take it well, started whining, then took off crying. Later, I found out she swiped her sister's room keys and locked them out, forcing them to crash with their friends for the night. That was my first hint she wasn't right about us. Years later, we got ourselves a house, and we threw a big party to celebrate. Invited all the family and our close friends. Tina shows up dressed like she's hitting the town, tight, flashy clothes, the whole deal. She acted like I wasn't even there, just glued herself to my husband, who was still my boyfriend back then. She kept going on about old times, stories from when they were kids, saying how tight they used to be. She'd lean in close, plant kisses on his cheek, grab his arm when she laughed, stuff like that. He looked real uneasy, so I had to step in and put a stop to it. At first, I figured she just had a little thing for him, but the way she carried on, you'd think she was the one dating him, not me. She went around telling everybody he never wanted kids back in the day, yet here he is, raising my daughter like his own. One of my buddies pulled me aside and said Tina was acting strange, going on about how good my husband looked in some modeling shots he did in college. She even brought up her favorite picture of them together on a beach in Hawaii from a family trip years ago. Then she said something that threw me, told a couple folks it was weird he'd never been with a woman of color before me, and now he's head over heels. That hit me odd since Tina's biracial herself. Made me wonder if she's jealous, maybe even wants to be in my shoes. Things took a turn that night. My husband got down on one knee and asked me to marry him right there at the party. Everyone's cheering, but Tina? She bursts into tears and bolts for the bathroom. Her dad went after her, ended up driving her home. I knew exactly what was bothering her, but my husband just chalked it up to her being envious. Said she's never had a good relationship herself. After that blow-up, she stopped showing up to our wedding, the first baby shower, our kids' birthdays, all the family stuff we went to. I kept sending her invites anyway, figuring she'd never come. Word was she had some kind of breakdown and spent years going in and out of treatment. Now, here's where I'm at. I want her to be okay, I really do, but I can't have her messing up our lives. I'm pregnant again, and we've got this baby shower planned for the end of the month. It's earlier than usual since I might deliver early, just like with my other 2 kids. My mother-in-law called to say she's coming and mentioned Tina's tagging along with them, bringing some new guy she's dating. I hadn't seen her in forever, so that caught me off guard. I didn't love the idea, but I said sure, hoping she'd sorted herself out by now. That hope didn't last long. Not even a full day later, she's texting my husband at 3 in the morning, long messages about how she feels. She said she misses how close they used to be and blamed me for ruining it, even though I've hardly said a dozen words to her in 9 years. She asked if he's really happy with me, bringing up how he used to say he didn't want kids or marriage. Then she hit him with this, wanted to know if he'd been thinking about her all this time and if they could meet up alone before the shower to talk. That was it for me, I'd had enough. I sat my husband down and asked him straight up if he knew Tina's in love with him. He shrugged, said he wouldn't be surprised if I'm right. Told me when she was 11, she once asked if they could cuddle and kiss, and he shut that down fast. He said she's been odd and over the top ever since, but he never paid it much mind growing up since they were a big family, always together. I told him I want her and this new boyfriend of hers out of the baby shower. I'm sure she's going to stir up trouble. He said he'd think about it, wants to check with his folks first to see how she's holding up mentally. But deep down, I feel it in my bones, she's going to wreck our day if she's there. So, am I wrong for wanting her gone? Oh, and before anyone asks, no, nothing shady ever happened between them. I'm dead certain of that. He's got 3 adopted siblings, 2 sisters, 1 brother, and he sees them all as family, blood or not, since they came into the family as babies. He's the second youngest, all close in age, so they're just siblings to him. He says he brushes Tina off because she's always been a drama queen. He's worried about her, though she's battled depression forever, and he tries to tread lightly with her. He's not against keeping her away from the shower, but he wants his parents' take on whether she's stable enough to behave. One more thing, some folks keep mentioning High School Musical. I'm too old for that stuff and never saw it, didn't know it had a similar story. I tweaked a few things about how we met so nobody could pin this back to me. It's my real life, and it's a mess right now. My husband's heading home early from work today, still had 3 hours left, because his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. He sounded rough when we talked, wouldn't say what's up. I'm not calling his mom or sister to dig into it, but I'll try to let you know how this shakes out once we figure something final. I'm worn out and just want this over. Here's the latest, I reckon this'll be my last word on it. Me and my husband decided we're done with Tina's chaos. We've got to focus on this pregnancy and keeping our family steady. I've got a doctor's visit tomorrow morning with a specialist for high-risk pregnancies, been on the books for weeks, to make sure the baby's doing alright. Thanks to everyone who's been worried about us. I don't even know how to lay this all out, so forgive me if it's a jumble. And to the guy who dug through my old posts, I switched up ages, genders, and some details so nobody spots me in real life. I've got a job with a professional license, and if someone thought I was out of line here, I could get hauled in for a review. I'd rather dodge that, so I can't be totally straight with every fact. I've kept the big stuff true as best I could. So, my husband came rushing home one day because Tina was lighting up his phone with calls and texts. He's always been good about checking in with me during his lunch break, even before I got pregnant this time, so when he didn't call, I knew something was up. Turns out Tina got mad when he didn't reply to her messages, so she started hammering him with nasty texts about me and our kids, just her being her usual self. He didn't even ask me first, but when he got home, he showed me this long message he'd sent her. He laid into her, saying he'd rather cut her out of his life forever than hear her trash our family. Told her she's done coming to any of our gatherings and that if she thinks they were ever that close as siblings, she needs to get herself back into a hospital. He wrapped it up by saying he'd tell the rest of the family why she's not welcome anymore and that he hopes she's talking to a therapist or finds one quick. I wasn't shocked he went off like that. She'd crossed a line, and it hit him hard. The worst thing she threw out there was about the 2 times I lost pregnancies years back, babies that would have been ours together. She said it happened because we're not meant to be, and my body can't even handle carrying kids full term since our others came early at 32 and 33 weeks. I had a feeling she'd dig into something like that, but I could see it tore him up. That's why he didn't hold back. After that, he blocked her number and told me we're getting new ones. He got on the phone with his folks and his oldest sister, the biological one he's tight with, and laid out why Tina's banned from our place for good. Showed them all the texts she sent, and they were floored. He made them promise not to give her our address, and when we switched numbers, they swore they hadn't told her a thing. Apparently, she'd asked about his work hours and said she might drive up a day early to catch him off guard. My father-in-law had a lot to say about it, which makes sense, she's his little girl. He'd kept most of this quiet, only talking to his wife before now. He admitted he'd always known Tina had a thing for my husband. After she flipped out at our housewarming party years ago, he sat her down, and she confessed she'd been writing about him in diaries since she was a teenager. Said it was her way of sorting out her feelings and fighting dark thoughts. All I could think was she's got years' worth of notebooks at their place, probably feeding into whatever she's built up in her head. Turns out she only stayed away from my husband because my father-in-law kept her in line and got her into treatment a few times when she was a danger to herself. I'm not sure if all her problems come from this unreturned crush. It makes me sick to even say it, but I just hope she gets some real help. He asked his parents to talk to her about that last message my husband sent, but we don't want to hear how it goes. They said they'd handle it and were sorry for thinking she'd gotten better. My in-laws are good people. I'm grateful they've got our back and have kept her at a distance all this time. Good thing she's living with them now, so they're planning to sit her down tomorrow morning. Later, my husband's oldest sister, the biological one, called me after we hung up with the parents. She felt awful because she's the one who set Tina up with this new boyfriend and told her to bring him to the baby shower to show him off. But she admitted they'd only been together maybe 2 weeks. She forwarded him the texts Tina sent my husband since he's one of her close buddies, wanting to warn him. Pretty sure that relationship's toast now. I'm a little worried about how Tina's going to take getting dumped twice so fast. The sisters don't get along much, and she sounded sickened to learn Tina's been hung up on their brother all these years. She's got an idea about it, though. Thinks it might have started with their older brother, Sean. When Tina was a kid, she'd trail after Sean everywhere. He's a good bit older, so he left for college overseas when she was around 10, then settled in Europe for good. Seems like her feelings shifted to my husband after Sean took off. Nobody's heard from Sean since he finished high school. He's off the radar, so she can't ask him what went down. I'll admit, I'd love to know what he'd say, but I'm just glad we're done with this mess. Somebody pointed out Tina might be dangerous, could even hurt me or the kids, and that's got me spooked. My husband's stepping up, says he's going to beef up our security system and add more cameras around the house. I don't work in the summer, and I'll probably be on bed rest by the time I go back, so he wants to make sure we're safe when he's not around. Forgot to mention we're 5 hours away from them, so she'd have to go out of her way to show up here. Somehow she figured out where we live. That's pretty much it for now. I doubt I'll say more after this. And for anyone thinking my husband did something with her to set her off, no way. If that happened, she'd have rubbed it in my face every chance she got. A guy with something to hide would have shut her up long ago to keep me in the dark. You don't have to believe him, but I do. Thanks for all the advice, it's helped me feel a bit calmer. I'm looking forward to having our nearest and dearest at the shower. Now, about that question, am I a jerk for wanting Tina out of the baby shower since she's got this thing for my husband? I wasn't sure if I should keep talking about this, but a bunch of you gave me solid support and shared stories about dealing with obsessive folks, so it pushed me to say more. I've got Tina's first text saved. After we got new numbers, she started calling our landline from her work, but we cut that off once we knew it was her. I couldn't figure out how to lay this out, so I'm just going to break it down by person. I've had to change some stuff since I've got a job where people could track me down, and I don't want that kind of trouble. Tina, things have been calm lately. She's in treatment now. I thought it'd get ugly at first because she got hold of my husband's new number and kept texting him. He didn't answer and blocked her again. That rejection hit her hard, cost her job, her boyfriend, all that, but she's finally getting help. I hope she can pull through and find some peace. Sean, some folks wondered if my husband or Sean did something to make Tina act this way. I used to think Sean was his real brother since he looks like their dad in old photos, and my husband never calls any of them adopted, which I love, but it's mixed me up since a couple stand out. It matters because Sean left after high school to find his birth family overseas. He tracked down his parents his last year of school, found siblings too, though his folks had passed. He visited them while studying abroad, got deep into their ways, and after college, he dropped all contact with my husband's family. His parents got a few postcards early on, but nothing for years now. I can't say for sure if something went on with him and Tina, but him leaving tracks, and I hope it's nothing bad. My husband, I'll say it plain, there's no chance he ever fed into Tina's fixation. If you don't buy it, I get it, but I've got full faith in him. Me, I feel lighter now, at least for a while. The baby shower was great, and knowing Tina was far off getting help let me enjoy it with our friends and family. I can't wait to meet this little one, and I'm hoping we're done with this drama for good.